Every single Friday, without fail, I am scrambling to figure out what to put on. And then I realize, it doesn't actually matter if I look good. And the reason for that, the culprit, so belovedly, is our guest today on the podcast, Olivia. Olivia is our new moderator over on Transgender Zone. And she originated Fit Friday. So every Friday, she asks members to post their fit, their outfit, and we all can lift each other up and encourage one another. It's super fun. And just like our live sessions where we used to start with a full face of makeup, trying to look really good. Even I would post, only post Fit Fridays when I really looked good, because I wanted to feel good and look good on Transgender Zone. It started as that, and it's become just literally whatever you have. If you're wearing pajamas, post your pajamas. If you have, and she really encourages this, if you have something in your closet that you haven't worn in a while, or you're I got this and I'm insecure about this, or I'm not sure if this looks good, pull it out, wear it for Fit Friday. Let people hype you up. Just recently, Olivia was oh, I hate these shorts or a skirt or something that she got. And the comments, including me, were girl, why? That looks so good.
Yeah, daily rotation. Get that in there. Yeah, get that in the weekly rotation.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Transgender Zone podcast. I am your host, Victoria.
And I am co-host and husband of Victoria, Christopher.
And if you're new here, we run Transgender Zone, which is the first ever trans-owned, trans-only online learning community where trans folks from around the world can make real friends, get live expert guidance, and make serious progress in their transition. So if you're interested in joining the community, maybe click down below or go to transgenderzone.com. But today, we are going to be interviewing our newest moderator, Olivia.
And this is part of an ongoing series where we bring on folks from the community, specifically for now moderators, and share perspectives from other folks in the community. Victoria started her YouTube channel to share her perspective, but because of Transgender Zone, we now have so many amazing trans folks from around the world that we can be a beacon for them and share their stories so other folks can hear, trans stories that aren't Victoria's and explore that.
That's the thing, that I can share my story until I'm blue in the face, and girl, I have. Go watch all of our other videos. But, trans folks aren't a monolith, and it's really important that we get to see stories that represent ourselves. So for that reason, I really want to bring on as many folks from Transgender Zone as possible so you can see that we host people from all walks of life, all different ages, different countries, different backgrounds, different start dates. We have people from 18 to 98, So if that interests you, go ahead and click down below. But otherwise, grab a snack, grab a water, and let's meet our newest moderator, Olivia. Okay. Hi, everyone. Hi, Olivia. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. We're so happy to have you here and so happy to have you on board as a new moderator.
Yes, I'm very excited to be here. It's a lot of change, but I'm really excited to kind of be here and share more.
Hey, that makes me so happy. Well, that actually just leads me to our first question. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and what drew you to Transgender Zone?
Yes. I'm 32. I'm kind of freshly trans. I'm still within my first year. I kind of found Transgender Zone when I was scrolling around online. I have a lot of time on YouTube, and then I found you, and I was within my first month. And I definitely know that I wouldn't be as far along as I am right now if I was not on the website. It's just such a wonderful place.
Oh, that makes me so happy. When I first started my transition, it was just a shot in the dark, and it still is to an extent, but to have a group of people to sound off of, to ask questions to get feedback from, to be able to see that you're not doing it alone is totally next level, because it feels so lonely when you're in it,
Oh, definitely. I mean, I'm out in a place where I have to drive about an hour and a half just for me to get the gender affirming care that I need. So I'm definitely out in an island where it's hey, there's not really too many people around you. And especially with how life is kind of going, there's a lack of third places and everything. People just kind of staying indoors. Not really people are socializing as much. So it's hard to find other trans people out in the world just sometimes. And it's good to have a place like this where I can kind of relax and be myself.
Yeah, I hear you on the third places stuff, because for anyone that might not know, the third place being one being work, one being home or work or school, and then home. And that third place is what we're missing. And typically, especially for the queer community, that will involve alcohol and going out at night and being a whole thing. And that's a very specific group. So having sort of a wholesome group to kind of gather no matter where you are in the world or when you are, what time it is, it's really helpful. So could you share a little bit about what life was like before you were questioning your gender identity and or while you were beginning to question, but before you were making steps? And how has finding community helped you in that process?
Yeah, like just kind of like getting into it. I had just gotten out of a 9 year, very toxic, abusive relationship.
Mm.
Um, where kind of like the breaking of it was me realizing that I was trans, and that was like kind of like the last thing. We broke up. But like throughout like those 9 years, like I had lost a lot of friends and everything, and I was really just by myself. It was really just a very solitary time for me, and it was hard. And it was especially hard to kind of like go through like all of those first steps of being like, oh, I'm trans. Like, what am I going to do now? Who am I? And what am I going to do to like live my life now? Um, so for me, like kind of getting on Transgender Zone and everything was just a huge saving grace. I had tried to find like a couple of different like other like websites and things to kind of go off to, but nothing really made me as relaxed and as myself as this did.
When we are looking at trans representation in media, and I know this is kind of just a very tired subject at this point, but when you see trans folks in media, it tends to either be suffering. So, suffering, I'm trapped in the wrong body and things are so hard for me, which, girl, I get it. We've been there, we know. Or you're seeing the other end of things where it is very much on a binary, first of all, going from distinctly male to distinctly female, but happening quickly and doing so in a way that is in alignment with the way that society sort of wants all of us to be and what society defines to be success in transition.
Mm-hmm.
How would you define success in your transition?
I think for transition to be successful, you have to get rid of all of these other kind of points to it. Transition being successful is supposed to be a very internal thing. You know it when you've reached that. Nobody else can gauge that or judge that for you. Like we all reach this point as like a sort of like last step. Like it's going to be the last thing that we do, or else there's going to be nothing else. So it's really important for you to kind of be like, okay, this is who I am, and this is where I feel comfortable at. You're the only person who's going to be with you guaranteed your entire life. So why not enjoy yourself with it? And for me, that success is going to be that internal acceptance, knowing who you are and finally being like, yeah, I can feel myself today.
Yeah, that is so true. Because I think a lot of us tend to get too wrapped up in the idea of like passing, like I have to look this certain way and then I'll be happy. And once I can do this and I can whatever, then I can live full time, or then I'll be able to feel comfortable in my body. But there's so much life in between point A and point B. And sometimes, the journey changes the destination a little bit along the way. I found that in transition for myself personally, I feel less like I'm creating another person, less like I'm creating Victoria out of who I used to be, but more sort of the way that a sculptor would see a painting or a hunk of clay, where you're kind of taking away the pieces of the clay that isn't that sculpture. That's kind of how I saw that. I was shedding layers of identity and of myself that I was holding on to try and be the projection of who people thought I was. And at one point that was male, but even as just a person in my late 20s, like I've gone through that from my teens into my 20s, like you have this idea of who you maybe are supposed to be, and whether that's as a trans person or as a cis person. And I think it takes really understanding yourself and being able to look in the mirror no matter what and say, that's me, this is who I am.
I always like compare it to like growing like a flower and everything, where it's like there's this part of us that's there and we know it's there, but you have to like let it grow. You have to nurture it. And that's where you're going to really find yourself, and that's where you're really going to know where you are. I'm gonna go a little into philosophy here.
Please do.
You argued that there is no permanent self, that we're just a collection of interconnected like thoughts and feelings, and nothing is going to be concrete. And so I feel like we can change ourselves each day. Like that's the whole point of like trying to be a better person than the day before. I feel like you're just trying to be more of yourself, more of that like trans person. I know that I'm still me, but I'm just so much more of me than I ever was. And it's just a beautiful feeling.
Well, that's so special. And for me, like, despite being someone who has always kind of outwardly been myself, like even before transition, I was super goth and emo, and like I had crazy outfits and hair and all the kinds of like, sneak makeup into school. And even as somebody who was so confident in being myself, no matter what age or where I was,
Mhm.
um, transition is still something that requires a certain level of bravery. And I didn't quite understand why people would like to say, like, wow, you're so brave for transitioning. And it really confused me for a while because I was like, well, I'm not necessarily being brave. This is just, it felt like I had no other option. Like it was either I had to transition or that's it, because this was my last resort. But looking back now, I can see the bravery in transitioning young, but I've actually always had a lot of respect for people, those who have transitioned, especially after 30, people who have to tell their older parents, maybe their siblings, maybe their spouse, their work. So do you feel that transition coming out is an act of bravery or sort of an act of necessity?
I mean, it's definitely both. The core of bravery is necessity. It's like
Mm.
when your back is against the wall, that's only when you'll know like how brave you are, how much courage that you have. Otherwise, it's like really nothing. And I always like first viewed trans people as that too. Like I was like, oh my goodness, I wish I was as brave or as confident as that person was, because then I could be able to live my truth just like them. And it kind of got to the point where it's like, you know what? It's not that, that bravery. It is that necessity. It is that like that both sides of that coin where it's like, I got to the point myself also where I was like, you know what? I can't just live as who I was. And
Yeah.
I have to take these next steps.
Coming out and being trans publicly requires a certain level of bravery and confidence, especially being a trans person in America right now. But have how have you approached coming out to different people in your life, like family or friends or work potentially? And were there different strategies for different relationships? Because coming out to your family is going to look a lot different from coming out to your work, for example.
I hopped like right into it. Like as soon as I started HRT, it didn't even go a month by before I was like, you know what? I can't pretend anymore. I gotta be Olivia full time. Like there's no other like option for me. I just have to be me. And, like that's it. And so like I went into like work like that like day, and I just had like a full beat of makeup, but I was still like wearing like my normal like flannel and everything. And I was just like, yep, like get it. Like
I
I'm
love
gonna
that.
be like me now. I'm gonna be transing everything up, and you're just gonna have to deal with it.
I'm transing all of your genders.
Yes, transing all of the genders. It's all happening right now. And then like kind of like compared to like my family, like my dad was one of the first people who I actually like came out to, because like he came out as gay, and that was a kind of like the breaking point for me. Yeah, he came out as gay about like 2 or 3 years ago. And that was like the point for me where I was like, you know what? Like we lived a very Christian centered like life and everything. That's like how he was raised. And I'm all like, you were putting that on me because you were ashamed of yourself.
Yeah,
I'm no longer
that's
going to be ashamed of myself. And you
that's
came out and I'm
exactly right.
like, yeah, I can do this too. I can also just be me. And so that one was really touching. But then other times, it sucked. If I'm telling my friends, I'll just be like, oh hey, like, what's up? How's it going? And then they'll be like, oh yeah, like how are you doing? Like dead name. And then I'll be like, oh, like, yeah, I'm doing like all right. Like what you been up to? And then we'll kind of talk a bit. And I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, I'm also trans now. So
Also, it's Olivia. Thank you so
yeah,
much.
so I kind of go by Olivia now. Thank you.
Well, that's super interesting. I actually did not know that about your father. Now, if you don't mind some questions, and I can always just cut something
Yeah.
out also. But as someone, I have queer folks in my immediate family as well. And I was one of the last people in my family to come out. So what's interesting is a lot of times folks would be like, oh, well, you already have a queer person in your family. It must be a lot easier to come out. And to a degree, sure, because like, that at least they're somewhat accepting.
Hmm.
But I almost felt like, does it seem like I'm like riding on their coattails of me being like, oh, me too. Also, I'm gay.
Yeah.
Like also me. And so, yeah, how did you feel knowing that you were going through the internal process of questioning your gender, hearing that your father is gay? Was that a big surprise for you? Or, did
It
that
was
make
like
you
a
think?
big surprise for me. It was like a lot of shock at the time. And then it turned into anger. And that was like how a lot of my first transition started. And that's how I made a lot of steps in the first part was just anger at him, anger at the world, anger at society about being like, all right, I shut myself in because of all of these different factors and all of these other judgments and not anything about how I want or I feel. And so it was just so much defiance that I had like then, where I was like, you know what? I can't do this anymore. And that was like the root of me being like, no, I can't pretend. Like as soon as I started HRT, it was the same thing. It was anger as the defiance. It was like, I'm not living a lie anymore.
Wow, that must be so relieving. I can imagine you must have felt a lot of anger seeing that, like your father was trying to push that same idea on you. And I think that also goes to
Mhm.
show like there are so many Republicans, for example, that will say, like, oh, we all are attracted to the same sex. You just have to act like you're not. And it's like, I don't think that that's true. Like, I don't know if we all feel that way. Maybe you just feel that way, sir.
Mhm.
Now, has that anger sort of evolved? Because of course it's going to take some time, but I wonder, has that anger sort of evolved into a sympathy? Because that must have, while of course that was difficult on you as a child trying to form who you are while being suppressed by someone who can't be themselves, you must also feel a certain kinship with your father, no, in being a closeted queer person in a street world.
Yeah, I mean, like right now, he's definitely out of my family members, the ones who I am closest with. The one who
Um,
I'll talk to like everything like now. But like that was like we always had like a close like relationship even before then. Like more out of like any of the other things. And I think it's just that hidden like queer radar that we were just both like, all right, we're on the same wavelength right now.
100%. Yeah, you can kind of just always tell. I have a trans family member, and even before either of us came out as anything, like we were always so close. We just had a lot in common, even though he's a trans man and I'm a trans woman, and I was always very feminine. He was always very masculine,
Yeah.
but just something about it, we clicked so well. And I think that's sort of like almost like a trauma bond that you have with a lot of other queer folks, and especially ones within your own family. You and I were just kind of talking a little bit about stealth, family members being stealth.
Mhm.
I tried to live stealth for a while, and then I created a YouTube channel, and well, I'm kind of very publicly transgender now.
Yeah.
But sometimes I think what life would be like if I was less visible. And especially in the current climate here in the US, things are getting really scary. Things are getting really dangerous. And on one hand, it's more important than ever that we stand up and are visible and are making our voices heard. But on the other hand, it's more important than ever to protect ourselves. So being trans is inherently political, whether we want it to be or not. Do you feel the urge to be stealth whenever possible, or do you feel responsible for being a positive representation for the trans community?
I think that all of us will have like those times or maybe those spaces that you'll kind of just like retreat to and you'll be like, you know what? I can just pretend here that
Mm,
I was cisgender this entire time and like this is just me. And we all like kind of want that. I
yeah.
feel like we all just want to just be seen just as ourselves, just no matter what, like without the trans before it sometimes. Even though it's like such an essential core part of us, like sometimes we just want to be us. and have everyone see us like that without any other things.
Mm.
But also at the same time, like I know about how much like other trans siblings are like suffering, and I'm not going to be like stealth about it. I have a job where to sign into my job, I have to use like an ID card that's still attached to like my name and everything. They have to like wave me by. Like I caught someone the other day. They were like, "Oh, good morning, ma'am," and I like showed them my ID card and everything. They had to scan it, and they were like, "All right, right this way, Mrs." And I'm like, "All right, thank you." Like for they see that now, they can see like the difference, and then they'll just be like, we don't know about this one, so we'll just keep on going."
They
So
can pick up the cues.
yeah, like they can see, everyone can hear, but everyone also knows, like, all right, like she's trans, deal with it. Like if you still need stuff done, you can go to her. It doesn't change about who I am, doesn't change like my work or anything like that. And I just want to be the best person that I can be. And I want other people to view that and see like, all right, she's still just a person no matter what. And if we have
Yes,
more of that, then people won't have to worry about being stealth or anything.
100%. As someone who is openly trans in a smaller area, whether you like it or not, I think being trans, you kind of become a spokesperson for
Mhm.
trans folks everywhere because a lot of people don't knowingly meet trans people in their lives. And so when they hear that someone is trans, they're like, oh, okay. And I do my best to see it as a blessing because although it is not our responsibility, if we're just trying to use the bathroom or something, like it also becomes our responsibility. Like
Mhm.
it can put ourselves at danger, even if we're not answering questions, let alone the safety of other people around us.
Yeah, I mean, like I'll certainly have those times where if I go outside, I'll definitely put on, more of the feminine voice and everything. Versus when I'm kind of like with someone and relaxed, I'll be able to just kind of put it off, kind of. But it's less about that kind of being stealth and more just like, hey, we're all just making these slow adjustments and you just got to work on things.
Yeah. And I think it's important for people to see that, yes, we're trans, but we're also just people like anyone else. That
Mm-hmm.
being trans is often like one of the least interesting things about me because if you want to hear about surgeries I've had and medicines that I've taken and stuff, like, yeah, totally. I could
Yeah.
hear about your knee surgery. That's great. But that's not always the most interesting thing. And I think as trans people, one of the more revolutionary things we can do, one of the more radical things that we can do is just being boring, just showing like, hey, I like this. And, I think something that is really interesting is that as you progress in your transition, you tend to find things out about yourself that aren't even related to gender. So, for example, I know some folks really have always enjoyed video games, for example. And then as they're like starting to question their gender, they're like, well, I don't want to play video games because like that's like for guys. Like maybe I'll try and like suppress that a little bit. And then they feel more comfortable in their transition and they're like, no, why did I stop playing? Like, that doesn't matter.
Mhm.
Video games aren't for boys. Like, it doesn't make me any less of a
Yeah.
woman for playing video games. And I really feel that way for me because I've gotten into gaming myself. And I think I was like, from all
Hmm.
potential masculinity, and even outside of an androgynous or a gender neutral hobby like that, even just finding things out about myself, like, oh, I tend to like this kind of music more than I thought I liked the other kind of music. Are there bits about your personality that you have uncovered sort of unrelated to gender, but throughout your transition experience?
Like definitely me getting into reading as much about like philosophy and psychology. I did that a little bit before, but coming to terms with like a lot of my depression and advancing like myself forward, feeling better about myself is all about like the kind of connecting everything with that and growing from there. Um, but like also there are like so many other things about me because that's still like kind of connected to trans stuff.
Mm.
Like I love going to like shows. Like I've gone to like to see a show like at least like once a month now.
Really? That's
Since I've
great.
started. Yeah, like just because I love to just go out and listen to music and everything. I love to just like draw. I love to just be so much more of myself now where I'm like, I couldn't live that. I couldn't do all of those things while also dealing with this deep depression about not being myself. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, like I love video games. I love my Pokemon and everything. And I've never stopped playing that one.
Yep. Same.
Like throughout my entire time through. But um like there are like some that like I just don't do as much, but there's so much more about me. I'm able to just be like, all right, like you know what? I am really into fashion and like looking good too. So and
I
then
know
just
you are. And
like
speaking of fashion, as I said it in the intro to this interview, Olivia is the originator of Fit Fridays over on Transgender Zone. And although sometimes I'm slacking because I'll be in pajamas and I forget to take a photo, whenever I remember, girl, I am taking those photos and that is up
Mhm.
on Fit Friday. In fact, today we're posting this fit up on Fit Friday as well.
Right.
While transition takes a lot of energy, like going through all those things, calling people and making appointments and getting blood work and figuring things out, it takes so much more energy to pretend to be someone that you aren't. And so it makes me so happy to know that you're enjoying drawing again, that you're going to shows and seeing people and doing things because that's what life is all about. And like when you're sitting there like this and just holding things in and trying to be like, don't show anyone that I'm trans, like, don't let this out. You
Hmm.
can't relax and draw. You can't let go and let yourself get lost in whatever it is that you're doing. You're constantly holding something in and performing. And
Yeah.
so when you are able to let that go and be yourself, I just think it's the most beautiful thing because you watch people blossom. I mean, on Transgender Zone, we'll see before and after photos of people, even a couple months in, even if they haven't had crazy changes yet physically, it's like night and day because of the life in their eyes. And they
Yeah.
just feel like they can share passions. Like we have our art and writing channel on Transgender Zone where people can share their writing or share their drawings, anything else. Like it's just so cool to see that, yes, we're all trans. And like, yes, we're unified in our dysphoria, but we're also unified in our euphoria and we're unified in our humanity.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I love just seeing people become themselves, especially in like the Fit Fridays and everything. I love it when there were a few like today that I saw where they're like, oh my goodness, this is my first Fit Friday and everything. And I'm all like, yes, I love to see everyone just being more authentic, like feeling more relaxed and being like, you know what, I can do this too. And I feel like it's like that like like phrase of like a rising tide raises all boats. It's
Mm.
like, you know, we can all lift each other up by doing this together, by doing this in a safe place where we're like, you know what, we can just be ourselves and everyone can kind of connect to the authenticity that's there.
Mm. And that's a first of its kind experience. You
Hmm.
know, I found that trans folks can sometimes be like anyone, like any group of people can sometimes be a little cliquey or a little standoffish or like to keep things private because it is so personal. But on a place like Transgender Zone, it's only good vibes. It's only good vibes. People saying like, sometimes people will say, hey, I'm wearing this thing and like, I like how it looks, but I want you to be honest. Like, do you think it's age appropriate or do you think that this would look better on me? And people will give their honest feedback, but it's never unsolicited and it's always encouraging. It's
Yeah.
always like, it's never, you know, what you might think of trolls on the internet and stuff. And it's also not only thanks to our wonderful community members who just are nice to one another, which makes all of our jobs a little easier. But it's also thanks to our moderators like you, like Samira, like Ebony, like Aruna. This has been such a great interview, Olivia. Thank you so much for being here, for volunteering your time to be interviewed, and for being such a wonderful member on Transgender Zone. And thank you for being such a wonderful moderator.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad to join as a moderator, and I can't wait to see everyone on Fit Fridays and everything else that we're going to be doing there.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Olivia.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Wow, that was a great interview.
Olivia's great.
Olivia is so great. She has like a lot of great thoughts on transition and philosophy. She talked about it a bit in the interview, but she really posts some thought-provoking stuff on her forums. I've
Yeah.
I mean, I've come to you sharing like you and I have sparked conversation because of things that she's posted.
At least once a week I get Olivia said this thing where
Yes.
and so we end up in a conversation about it. But I think Olivia, I feel like trans folks, they can kind of lean into different categories of like caring about loving yourself or caring about like having fun in the process. Olivia really represents folks that really want to understand what it means to be a person and to be a trans person inside of that space. And so it's exciting to have her on the podcast and share. I think also, too, she's so unapologetically trans. It's inspiring to see because she, like a month after taking HRT, as she said, I'm going right to my coworkers.
Yeah.
And they're going to know who I am.
And that's something I really relate to because I was like, you know what? I'm doing it and I'm going to do it hard. Like I'm going straight into it. I didn't understand why, because I transitioned so young, my parents still had a little bit of a say over what I could and couldn't do. And I didn't get why they wouldn't let me just go out with a dress and full face of makeup and a wig like immediately because I was ready. I was ready, girl. I was counting down the days. I was like, all right, let's put it on. But, you know, and so she did exactly what I would have done. I see a lot of myself in her. It's cool to see how people from different parts of the world, different walks of life can have such significant overlap.
Absolutely. And if you're interested in meeting Olivia, potentially seeing Olivia in live coaching sessions or live meetings.
And participating in Fit Fridays. Let's not forget Fit Fridays over on Transgender Zone.
Cannot forget Fit Fridays. You can join the community at transgenderzone.com. And one of the reasons why we love sharing this is because real stories from real people that are making progress on Transgender Zone. And, you know, it's open to anybody around the world that's trans for as low as $5 a month. We've made it so anybody can enjoy it. So we'd love to have you there. I personally am not active on the forums. I build the back end of the business.
Yes.
Victoria and Olivia very much so are on the forums.
Yes, it is dedicated as a trans-only space. So Christopher, being our resident cisgender person here, he saw my dreams of what I wanted it to be, and he has really helped us build the infrastructure for that. And I am the only one seeing the personal stuff on the boards, just so we all know. So if you're interested in joining Transgender Zone, go ahead and click down below or go to transgenderzone.com. I hope you will enjoy this episode. Make sure you rate it 5 stars wherever you get your podcast. Give it a thumbs up. Share it with whoever would like it. And until we see you next time, take care of yourself. And we'll see you in the community.